Hitting record. Going live in 3, 2.
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
Craigo leads our Twitch bits leading cheers thing. Was it cheer? You cheer with bits? How does this work, Justin?
Yeah. You cheer with bits.
Okay, I got it right.
Bits in the chat, and then there's the bit leaderboard there at the top of the chat.
And Craigo is leading it. Well
Yeah.
done, Craigo.
Oh, Craigo.
That's where you go for all your auto parts.
Yeah, Craig and O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
Pep Boys. Aren't they all the same?
I have never been in the Pep Boys, which is odd.
Have you not?
No.
I think they're all the same company. They just keep the brand names.
Oh, really?
What about AutoZone?
Get in the zone.
AutoZone.
One of my favorite audio commercials ever.
Because
Because it's exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
Get in the zone.
Was it in the 90s? I don't know if they still have them because I don't really watch that much cable television anymore. But the AutoZone commercials, I remember being aggressive.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, being very.
Yeah, it's like, get in the zone. What zone? We're going to punch you in the face.
Yeah. Hey, you want a muffler? Why not? What's wrong with you? Like, real men buy this muffler.
Got a problem with your car? You're not going to pay someone else to fix it like a jerk, are you?
Get in the
Exactly.
zone.
What kind of failure are you? Well, you got a starter and an alternator, or else your wife doesn't love you.
That's right. AutoZone.
Your wife just fixed your car because she came to AutoZone.
Yeah, she was where real men matriculate. We said matriculate. Matriculators, half off. That wasn't even. That was a test to see whether or not you car part. You failed. F for you.
Craig and O'Reilly. We're the nice ones.
Yeah. O'Reilly.
all I know is O'Reilly used to be Grand Auto, and then they changed hands. And
Oh.
Yeah. And then the Irish moved in.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not up on my car part franchises.
they're all the same.
Clearly.
None of them have the stuff you want. In
I guess
stock
Pep Boys
for your
is
car.
different.
And the only
I
thing
always thought Pep Boys was like a tire shop, but it's everything.
It's got tires. But it
Pep
also
Boys.
has-
Pep Boys also start out as like car servicing, so you could also drive, and they would put your car up on the.
Okay.
All I know is that Jiffy Lube, my uncle, I don't know if this is even GDI friendly, but my uncle called it Jiffy Screw because you were getting ripped off.
You were.
I see.
Yeah.
Not Jiffy Lube, but some of the fast oil change places. I know because one of them stripped my nut on the differential when they.
I don't know if that's GDI.
That's a little PG-13 if you ask me.
Strip the nut.
Yeah. Just don't look up docking. You'll be all right.
Wow. Wow, we are working blue.
Various.
I will say of all of the sort of car related franchises, there's actually an AutoZone down the street from me. I haven't popped in there since I've lived in my neighborhood, but I'll do it if I have to. But Terrible's Lube, which is a Vegas franchise, and it might be in other parts of the US, I don't know, but you see it in Nevada, and that's the only place I've ever seen it. It's called Terrible's Lube, and sometimes it's like there isn't even an auto mechanic involved. It's just a gas station. And there's food there. I mean, you're like, why is it called Terrible's Lube?
There's a reason why Vegas is one of my favorite cities. It's a fascinating place. Not only, I mean, obviously, look, the Strip is the Strip, and it's continually kind of reshaped itself as this party destination to its detriment. There's no more quiet gamblers. It's a bachelorette party, and the largest. It joins together like the creature in Stranger Things. But then outside of that is just the weirdest small town you've ever been.
Really is.
It's an odd. It's like everybody knows each other. Everybody like goes to the same 4 restaurants, and they all know the same casinos that have the locals discount. It is strange.
Fremont Street, the Mind Flayer.
Yes, exactly. Well, no, that
I mean, even Fremont Street is like, that's not even like the burbs of Vegas. The
Yeah.
burbs of Vegas are a whole other
No,
thing.
that's Henderson.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's-
Henderson would be one of them. Yeah.
all these like strip mall kind of areas and everything, which are like really fun, but it's definitely a small town vibe. And because half the people work in the entertainment field or in hospitality,
I just want to
It
know
has
who
weird-
is terrible. And
But
why does
that's
he
like-
have a Lube franchise?
so that's the other thing is that one half, I don't know whether that is it's Vegas, LOL, let's just give it a funny name because that's like when somebody's on vacation, they're like,
Did we
"What?
talk about it the way I am now? Yeah.
terrible, terrible selfie, LOL, right?
Right.
Or if it's just like, no, the first guy that lived in Nevada was like Ted Terrible, and it's like a small town kind of thing. It's like, it's
Yeah.
like you're crazy. What was your high school's name, Sarah?
Annalie.
Yeah. right?
Also often pronounced in a different way.
Exactly. So it's just
Uh-huh.
one of those things that's like it's small town. Well, like we're not going to change it because of course.
No,
yeah.
it was
Heritage name.
John Annalie, founded the town in 1852.
Exactly. You know, Ted Terrible's great grandson still lives here. You know, he's
Yeah.
raising his own kids.
I just want like anybody with the last name Terrible, if that is your surname, stand up and email us. I just want to know. It's a cool last name. I
great-
wish it were mine.
We have a terrible curiosity.
That's
Yeah.
right. I want to be Sarah Terrible. Marry
Sarah
me.
Terrible would be great. Tom
Terrible.
Terrible. Tom Terrible.
Terrible.
Roger Terrible. Justin Terrible sounds like broken English.
Roger Terrible isn't all that great either.
Roger Terrible's not fantastic. Sarah.
Tom
and
Terrible
Tom
is like
Terrible.
my
Sarah.
cartoon villain name.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Terrible.
I'm Tom Terrible.
Hey, so I completely missed the Twitter outage that apparently several people had a
Oh,
meltdown
so
about.
great.
What? How long was it down?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I honestly like I'm not on Twitter that often.
Like I went to check Twitter and it was down. I was like, huh, Twitter's down. And then like a half hour later I went and it was working again. So I don't
Oh, okay.
outages never make me freak out.
Well, it's funny because if it's the recent Instagram outage, it was a Facebook
I
Instagram.
almost
that whole
always missed
thing.
the outages. I was
I
actually
did
kind of
notice
pleased
it.
that I noticed this one. Yeah.
The Twitter outage, I'd kind of checked my news in the morning, and then I'm just not
Yeah.
prolific Twitterer these days, so I just missed the entire thing. So all the jokes afterwards, I was like, just not funny.
I did have one of my draft tweets from years ago about the movie Annihilation published.
I saw that.
I was like, that's odd.
I saw that, and I was like, I didn't understand the joke, but I was like,
There was-
it's either a
There was no
joke
joke.
or yeah.
That was just an old tweet that got published.
That's
I'm guessing out of my
that's-
draft.
that's actually a little scary.
Yeah.
There's some draft tweets that I've I've come
I mean, I
to
don't-
my
I
senses
don't
and been
know
like,
if it
nope,
was-
don't tweet
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I don't know if it was from my drafts or not. I shouldn't say that because I don't want, maybe it was just, maybe I tweeted it and I don't really remember it, which is
Yeah.
quite possible. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
By the way, Dark Knight 27 US subscribed with Twitch Prime for 2 months now and reminded everyone that you can give us Jeff Bezos money perfectly legally. So don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go ahead and peel off a few for Bezos. By the way, Lil Nas X announced as the TwitchCon headliner this morning.
Nice.
Really?
Good get.
Yeah.
It is.
You gonna take your horse down the Old Town Road and visit TwitchCon?
It's the first TwitchCon headliner that I've been curious to see, mostly because like he has like rocketed to fame, and I have no idea aside from like the one BET Awards performance, like he doesn't have a ton of on stage experience.
No, he kind of came out of nowhere.
So I'm curious. I'm curious to see it, and also because he has 7 songs. I have no idea like how.
Who was the headliner last year?
Man, if it was T-Pain, might have been T-Pain.
T-Pain headlined TwitchCon last year.
They've
That's
mostly
insane.
they've mostly stuck with EDM stuff. So they had like
Uh.
Steve Aoki, and then Darude, I think the next year.
Okay. Well, I guess I could just look it up. Justin, tell me.
But I think also it's like they stream. I think like T-Pain like had a Twitch account or something, and that was like part of it.
Oh yeah.
So they were like,
I just think of T-Pain as like it's it's a little, it's sort of
no, he's
a foregone Oregon era.
He's resurgent with the mask. He was
he was a huge hit on the mask. Because he told his whole story and nobody knew who he was until until you went to Reddit and figured it out.
And they figured it out on like episode 1. And
Yeah,
also like because he had already done the bit of like the Tiny Desk concerts or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, T-Pain's actually an amazing singer." It was just like a kind of gimmick that he did the auto-tune thing.
Oh. Well, you know what? I take it back, T-Pain. I'm sorry. I support your future.
I also may be misremembering that he was TwitchCon.
He was definitely on the Mask singer, though.
He was definitely on that. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. 2016 was.
2016. All right. Let's see.
It's like BlizzCon always gets some band that was your favorite 12 years ago.
Well, and I think that's one of the things is that BlizzCon is now enough of a gigantic event, but like I think BlizzCon and TwitchCon are similar in that they do have a lot of kids that kind of, and it's like a family kind of element. So you can't really go with anybody who's going to be too blue, right? Maybe a few curse words here and again, but
you want something that the whole family would be like, "Oh, that sounds fun. I know who T-Pain is."
Yeah. All I do is win.
T-Pain loved by mothers. Boy, did they love T-Pain.
Yeah. Now that they've seen him on The Masked Singer. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
He's actually very talented.
I saw the Aziz Ansari Netflix special last night. I thought it was great.
I love him.
He's funny.
He's funny.
He's changed though, and he talks about it's as much of a confessional-ish kind of thing for him.
Are we talking about the
controversy?
Yeah.
He opens with that. That's
okay.
the first thing he mentions right out of the gate.
Okay. All right.
I think it's smart. I mean, I think part of it is like anybody.
You kind of have to address it, right?
And I think it's also part of the reason why. I mean, we're gonna get into some heavy stuff, like literally as we pivot into serious tech news. But I think it's part of the reason why Louis C.K. has, and that's a different, more serious accusations toward him. But like part of the thing that I think is stopping continues the animosity is that no, at the very least, you owe us the Louis C.K. bit making fun of you for doing awful things. At the very least, like you, the guy who has like taken a crap on yourself in your work forever, like we are owed this if you want us to like you.
Well, and Aziz isn't joking about it with himself.
No. I read when he was road testing the material for that special, his whole if it was the same thing with
it's a very sincere open, and then he starts poking fun at himself the whole rest of the way.
Sure.
And then he sort of closes with the idea of, I for a moment saw a world where I wouldn't be able to do this anymore. So I'm extra appreciative that y'all came out, blah, 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 blah.
His humor, I can see where it doesn't always rub people the right way. I think he's really funny.
He does a lot of bits about like digging up old tweets kind of stuff.
And
redoes some of his own material about R. Kelly and examines it and is like that. He's like, I certainly wouldn't do that now. He even talks about, he's like, there's some stuff in Parks and Rec that I'd be like, yeah, I'm not saying that on that show. I'm making it sound not funny. It's also really, really funny. Yeah.
I saw the one clip on Instagram today of white people trying too hard.
He has a really good bit about that.
That had a great kicker at the end of the Candy Crush sliding scale of people tallying up their points amongst each other on who did the best for minorities today.
Yep. There's a good. That's kind of one of his earliest total funny bits, and it's good. It's really good. All right. Well, now that we've had a lighthearted romp about
that's right.
That.
Race and Me Too. Let's get into the tech news.
Hey, we got a line 3. We got a line 3.
Yeah, let me dig up a line 3 for you, Sarah.
All right.
I'd like you to read line 3.
I knew you would. I don't. Well, it depends on the name. But no, I whoever it is, I'm willing.
Hey, somebody wants to pledge right now.
Yeah. Want to be part of our live line 3? What was the stand-up show while you're doing that, Tom? It was Chris Rock. Chris Rock's latest stand-up show, at least the latest one that I saw, was very dark. It leaned heavily on stuff that had happened in his personal life.
Oh yeah, no, the whole divorce thing, yeah.
Yeah, and kind of custody and it really, he did not hold back. It was funny because he's funny, but I remember at the end of it, I was like, wow, that was very therapeutic for him. I would.
All right, we've got different wording on line 3, so don't let that trip you up.
All right, ready.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2.
Michael L. Hale started supporting independent tech news directly just now. Don't let Michael be the lone newbie. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 11th, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline's Grandma's House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From the shores of Lake Merritt in Oakland, California, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
We have got a nice summer bouquet of tech news for you today. There's some vulnerabilities, there's some speculation, there's some hope for future fears, all packaged together for you. Let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Apple released an automatic update to macOS that removes Zoom's vulnerable local host web server, which remained on machines even after the Zoom client was uninstalled. Apple said that the move was done to protect users and won't affect functionality of Zoom on the platform. Clicking on Zoom links now will prompt users to approve opening the Zoom app rather than automatically doing it.
Apple also disabled the walkie-talkie app on Apple Watch, citing a security vulnerability that could let somebody listen to a user's iPhone without consent. The exploit came through Apple's vulnerability reporting panel. The company said there was no evidence the vulnerability was exploited in the wild. Walkie-talkie app functionality will remain disabled until Apple rolls out a fix.
For those following the whole will they, won't they move their stuff from China, the Economic Times reports that Apple has started exporting iPhones made by Wistron in India to Europe. Reports recently indicated that Apple has been considering moving 15 to 30% of its production outside of China, and India would be one of the more likely places.
Microsoft plans to let users log into Windows 10 without using a password. Instead, you would use facial recognition, fingerprints, or a PIN. The PIN would only be stored locally on a trusted platform module, making it harder to crack than a password stored remotely. The option will be available to businesses through Azure Active Directory as well.
And the Financial Times reports data from media research that Amazon is gaining music service subscribers faster than Spotify or Apple. Amazon Music Unlimited's customer number jumped by 70% in the past year. That puts Amazon in the number 3 spot at 32 million subscribers, behind Spotify, still number 1 with 100 million subscribers, and Apple Music in the number 2 spot at 50 million. Although, at this rate, Amazon could lap Apple Music if growth stays constant.
Yeah, we'll see about that. It's easy to grow fast when you don't have much to go from. Let's see if they keep it up. All right, let's talk a little more about a different Amazon plan to help us in the future, Justin.
Ah, yes. Bezos smiles upon his children. Amazon announced that it plans to spend $700 million to retrain 100,000 U.S. employees by 2025. That's about 1/3 of its U.S. workforce. Retraining will be offered to employees in corporate offices, tech hubs, fulfillment centers, retail stores, and transportation network. The Wall Street Journal cited examples like fulfillment center workers trained as IT support and corporate office workers trained in software engineering, but also nursing and aircraft mechanics. Amazon says it's designing the retraining program around the needs in its own workforce, but participation in the programs does not require that you stay working at Amazon. Its fastest growing job areas include data mapping specialists, data scientists, solution architects, and security engineers. Amazon has 200,000 job openings in the United States.
20,000.
20,000.
Still a lot.
It's a lot, but not that much. Don't get your hopes up.
Well, let's walk through this. Amazon automating warehouses. It's going to be horrible for people, kicking them out of jobs. Well, wait, Amazon's going to retrain those people who might suffer from automation for new jobs. Oh, of course, they're locking them into Amazon. Well, Amazon's also training them for things that Amazon doesn't necessarily need, like nursing. But they're going to make them stay at Amazon anyway. Well, no, they're not. I think this is a fairly well-designed program and the kind of thing that companies should do, especially when you're like, we've got all these job openings, we've got all these people, we could make them qualify for these job openings. And it sounds like they're at least trying to do it in a responsible way.
Yeah, I wonder exactly how much this is going to work. I would like to see eventually where it goes, because right now this is obviously the great PR example to a problem that has begun but has yet to really reveal its true sinister face in automation and the unemployment and displacement that it will cause. But I don't know. Is a warehouse worker tomorrow's data scientist or solutions architect?
Well, it depends on what you're doing at Amazon, right? I mean, to say, listen, we're plunking down 700 million, but you're not really going to see the fruits of our labor until 2025, kind of gets Amazon off the hook. But at the same time, yeah, if there's workers that can be moved to other positions, and yeah, maybe potentially they would be good at some of these other jobs. Retraining is necessary. I mean, there's kind of no other way for the company to do it unless they just rehired a bunch of people.
Or just hired other people who.
Yeah, I mean that
what
would
I mean. Yeah, like hired new people.
That would be the other way to do it, is just fire the people who don't qualify for jobs and replace them with people who do.
And I think that, even if it's front facing and not necessarily what the company mantra is, a company does not want to be the company who does that. If you're Amazon, you fire everybody and you hire more skilled people based on what your needs are in the future. Everyone's going to hate you.
Also, I mean, they want to retrain 100,000 by 2025. It doesn't mean they're waiting until 2025 to train them. It means that that by 2025, they hope to have finished retraining 100,000. Some of them will happen before that. This is good for morale when people feel like the company actually cares about helping you to make a transition. Yeah, maybe not every warehouse worker wants to be a data scientist, but there's lots of options to choose from. And if you really go through it and you're like, no, I don't want to be retrained for any of that. Well, I don't know what else Amazon could do to help you.
No. And I think that, again, they are trying to put a bow on something that they are going to be a part of, but they did not create. They did not create automation. They are just trying to take advantage of it as best they can, the same way that any company of that scale would look to take, make their product faster and more efficient and stuff like that, which automation promises. The only question that I have is literally is the guy running the forklift like, a solutions architect? That's my future.
Yeah, maybe he is. If not, maybe he can become a nurse or an aircraft mechanic, right?
Yeah. You'll never be a solutions architect. That's what my dad
always said. I would never be a solutions architect. I'll show him.
I also feel like, the price keeps me from going and getting another degree, going back to school. The idea of being retrained by a company that I'm already employed by to learn new skills, that sounds great to me. But again, it totally depends on the person and what you're interested in.
Yeah. And also, I can't remember, it already flew by on the chat room, but one person pointed out that the things that aren't needed by Amazon that they're training for are things that Amazon needs from its clients. It's getting into healthcare. It rents planes. So, there's some self-interest there as well. Thursday, France approved a 3% tax if a digital company has more than 750 million euros of revenue and makes sales of at least 25 million euros of that in France. So you have to make a certain amount of money and a certain percentage of it has to be in France, and then you get taxed. The new law targets companies that have French digital users but few physical premises in the country, which makes it easier to shift tax burdens to lower tax nations. France has pushed for an EU-wide rule like this, but it has been opposed by Ireland, Denmark, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. The BBC estimates about 30 companies in France will pay this. They include Alphabet, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, as well as some Chinese, German, Spanish, and British firms. Also affected would be French online advertising firm Criteo. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said Wednesday after the passage that the U.S. or before the passage that the U.S. will investigate whether this tax is discriminatory or unreasonable and burdens or restricts United States commerce. That kind of investigation has often been a precursor to slapping tariffs on countries. Austria, Britain, Spain, and Italy have also announced their plans for digital taxes. This is all countries trying to say, look, taxing based on where the employees are isn't very accurate in a world where the employees can just do a lot of their job and get customers over the internet.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's I'm doing my job remotely now. I'm not outside of the U.S., but I could be very easily. And
is. Yeah,
exactly. And that's sort of the beauty of our line of work for the most part, is that as long as you got the internet, and you can be awake at a certain time, you're good to go. So yeah, this would factor in very much to me if I was I was planning on moving to France.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing, though, is that if you are not stationed in France and therefore paying French taxes, then now if you make over a certain amount of money, so what is it, 25 million euro, then you are now taxed on for beyond that, basically. You are
right, but but I'm not a French citizen to begin with, so yeah.
Because French citizens are engaging with your product on the internet, you are now being taxed for it.
If Daily Tech News Show made 750 million euros and 25 million of that came from patrons in France, we would fall under this law.
Yeah. And now, no matter what, you have to pay. I will leave it up to the dear listeners to decide whether or not this is right or wrong. I will only say it is the most French way to solve the fact that we're not getting money. We're not getting enough money from the internet.
Or because companies are taking advantage of the fact that they don't have to be in a country to do business there, and then moving their people to a country like Ireland that has a lower tax rate. That's what they're trying to solve for.
And also, what kind of the implications of this? Okay, let's say the tax rate was something crazy, right? This doesn't seem crazy right now, but let's say, oh man, I don't want majority of my listeners and viewers to be from France, because then it's gonna, we're really gonna get docked here on Daily Tech News Show. How does that change the way that marketing works for people like us who might?
Yeah, good. That's a really good point.
Remote.
It could have an effect on that sort of thing. If France stays the only one, if every country starts to do it, then that waters that down a little.
Right.
Tell us about the Twitter bots, Sarah.
Oh, Tom, I'm glad you asked. Twitter bots commonly send out identical coordinated tweets in order to influence a large amount of followers. We have heard about this practice going on for several years now. The latest topic is a proposed smart city project in Toronto, Ontario. On Monday, journalist Sean Craig noticed that dozens of Twitter accounts were all linking to a press release using the same tweet language about a smart neighborhood that's been proposed by Sidewalk Labs. That's a subsidiary of Google's parent company, Alphabet. The press release was originally published on the Future of Privacy Forum. That's a nonprofit think tank that focuses on data privacy and has received funding from Google. John Verdi, the VP of policy for FPF and Sidewalk Labs, they say they didn't buy a botnet. That was not something that they did themselves. Notably, though, Verity noticed that many of the accounts use images, Twitter accounts, use images of people wearing sunglasses, and says, this could point to photos being pulled from a neural network rather than photos of real people, because getting the eyes right is hard if these aren't real people. Verity also thinks that the bots were probably part of a network being built to be sold or rented, and the Sidewalk Lab story was proof of concept more than it being a story that needed to be propagated across the internet. Fascinating.
I guess you would need the AI generated image if you want to avoid being scanned and matched against a database of known clip art, because it's not hard to find a lot of pictures of people that you could just throw up there.
Exactly.
But yeah, if that gets you past a filter of some sort, yeah, maybe that works. This does seem to be some kind of test of a botnet, because the press release that all of these Twitter accounts point to is fairly neutral about Sidewalk Labs. It doesn't seem to be an axe to grind kind of situation. So that sounds like a test to me.
Also, I've seen, I mean, we've played games on the Night Attack podcast where we had to guess whether or not a photo was real or from a neural network. And like, it's amazing what you can do with eyes now these days. So I don't know if I totally buy the sunglasses thing, although the idea of using a neural network is fascinating. This is a reality that we have to deal with, right? Like the fact that these bot hordes are out there. They are, you know, man, I'll tell you what, I would love. Twitter should just open this up as a marketplace. Like just bring it from the black market to the sunshine of the light and say, buy your botnet through us, Twitter, and we're gonna get a 10% cut.
Well, but the point is, usually the people wanting to do a botnet are wanting to do something Twitter doesn't want them to do. Right? They're trying to influence something. They're trying to get around the advertising costs of Twitter by running a botnet. So I don't know that Twitter wants botnets on its platform. Do they?
Well, I mean,
They certainly like those user counts.
As somebody who has
they've been
argued,
reducing that.
Somebody who has argued with a bot before on Twitter unknowingly. I thought it was a real person, but it was a bot, and it was pointed out to me, and they were right. It can be difficult, and it kind of reminds me of a recent story that we were talking about. Google's initiative for kids and schools and parents be internet awesome, where it's like whether or not this is going to solve any issues, at least, especially at a younger age, being able to be like, oh, I know what's going on here. I can see there's certain signals. I can tell by that bio. There's something about it. The way that we've all gotten used to understanding what spam emails look like. Then this is all kind of something that we need to just understand more about, even if we don't understand exactly why the botnet was created.
It's one of those situations where it's sad now that I can't run the bots that I used to run perfectly innocently to just post things automatically for me. I have an account called @TomMerritt that I used to just post anything that went up on TomMerritt.com to. Doesn't work anymore because you have to work harder to get around the bot limits, and they've ruined it for everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, bots.
Yeah.
You should post your own bot network of a neural network generated merit family. Just relatives of yours that donate.
Just continuously, every new day, a new relative.
Yeah. According to MyDriver's TF securities analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, he reports that the 2020 iPhone will use a smaller front-facing camera lens for the True Depth face tracking system, resulting in a substantially smaller notch on the device and potentially indicate a redesign for the model. The rear camera on the next iPhone will also reportedly feature a 7-piece lens system. Meanwhile, Business Times reports that Tom, you're gonna have to help me on this one.
Swiss
or Swiss?
Just say Swiss.
Credit Suisse says Apple suppliers are developing a notchless screen, which may result in an underscreen True Depth camera for Face ID, whole screen optics-based Touch ID, or both by 2021.
Yeah, I've seen some stories take this to mean that Apple might get rid of Face ID in favor of Touch ID again, if they could put Touch ID as whole screen optics. I don't see why they'd choose. If they could put Face ID underneath the screen as well, then what they would, very Apple thing to do would be like, we know some of you like Touch ID. We think Face ID is great, but we want to give you the ability to use both. And we got rid of the notch. Aren't we the best?
And you know what? They would be. If you bring back Touch ID, I will never stop buying your products. Face ID is something that I live with. It is tough, but I do it barely. Touch ID is the better authenticator. Period.
Well, I wholly disagree with you, and so do most people. But I get it, and this would end that debate, right?
Right.
Like we wouldn't have to
let us all eat cake. Yeah, we'd be fine.
Well, and that's Apple's goal. Apple's goal is to make that unlock as magic as possible, as like seamless. They want you to have the experience of as if you had no password at all. That's why they moved to Face ID, because you're always looking at your phone, unless of course you have any kind of sunlight behind you. In that case, Face ID never works. But if they had another factor that could seamlessly work together, then yeah, I think that'd be.
No, so, and Ming-Chi Kuo, by the way, if people don't recognize, has a great record with this sort of thing. So I believe in the idea of a smaller notch. I believe that iPhone is working, or that Apple is working on the underscreen stuff. I'm a little more doubtful of Credit Suisse saying it's coming by 2021. That it might be, but Apple waits until technology is really solid before they put it in their phones, and it's not, by all accounts, not quite as solid as maybe you would expect Apple to want it to be to go into their hardware. A Google contractor gave Belgian public broadcaster VRT more than 1,000 audio clips collected from Google Home devices. 153 of the clips appear to be accidental recordings containing snippets of private phone calls, discussions of health and personal matters. So this is a person contracted to review these to help improve Google Assistant. And amongst the snippets are ones that were accidental triggers that therefore include unintended transcriptions. Now, Google told Wired that 0.2% of all recordings of voice interactions are transcribed to help improve the accuracy of voice recognitions, with the contractor saying he generally transcribes around 1,000 clips a week. Those could both be true. Google does a massive amount of data. And even with Google Home being one of their less popular products, I could see 1,000 clips a week being less than 0.2% of all recordings of voice interactions. The contractor, however, said Google does not have clear guidelines for instances of reviewing audio of people in distress or potentially violent situations. Google's current privacy policy also does not mention using human workers to review clips. This is similar to the Amazon Echo situation. That may violate transparency requirements of GDPR in Europe. Google has launched an investigation saying the contractor violated data security policies. So they're going to try to figure out how he was able to get these clips and give it to a broadcaster. Hopefully, they're also going to investigate whether their policies are up to speed, because I don't think this has changed my opinion from the Amazon version of the same story, which is I think it's necessary for companies to have human review of some of this data in order to improve their services. And I think that's reasonable. You just need to disclose that it's happening and let people have a little bit of control over whether it happens to their transcriptions or not.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this is kind of running back the same story, but I think if you want to make this better, if you want to have less frustrating experiences where your voice assistant doesn't know what you're talking to them, then this is the way it happens. Like, you just have to train the thing on the voices, and there has to be human curation of it.
That said, the idea that you might be, working for a third-party company and be like, oh, I'm hearing something that's disturbing or potentially harmful, and I should take appropriate steps.
Yeah.
Those need to be in place.
There needs to be a procedure
you
for that.
just
You're
have to have that kind of thing if you're a human curator of this sort of thing. Also, if you're not supposed to be able to pass along information, well, then Google has to figure out a way that, if you're a human curator and you hear something that's potentially damaging, you know how to take the appropriate steps, and you also don't pass it along to somebody in the media.
Well, the reason that they won't allow someone to report this is they're not allowed to use the snippets for anything but training the AI. And that's because they haven't asked people for permission. So they're trying to skate through on a loophole. If they just said, look, give us permission to use this for training. By the way, if we have this explicit permission and we discover something, we may report it back. They could build that in. It's tricky though, because a lot of people are going to say like, well, wait a minute. Like, yes, I wanted you to use it for training, but this is a private matter, and I don't think it's your business if there was an accidental of recording.
I think that we are only now beginning to get to a point culturally where you can have that conversation with the end user and hope to sell these units. Because if you led with that, then it would be, oh, really? The spy bot? Nope. Get out of here.
Yeah, because there's already enough of that kind of thought about these sort of things.
Now,
and it is a very rare situation and a very rare occurrence, but the scale of the amount of data collected means that it does exist and it does happen out there.
Got a little more Google news today. Google's Area 120 unit, lots of experimental stuff going on at 120, has made a new social network. If you haven't heard of it, it's called Shoelace. Users can pick interests and then connect with each other for various activities. Notably, if a user uses Shoelace, like if I have it, but Tom doesn't, I can share activities with Tom, even if he doesn't have Shoelace. So it's designed to be almost a bit of an offline scenario where you don't have to have all the same connections on both sides. However, it is limited invitation only in New York City, at least for now.
So
And you have to sign up with an interest, right? You have to be vetted. You have to say like, yeah, man, I'm way into pickleball. And then the pickleball people look at you and like, yeah, it does seem like Sarah's into pickleball. Bring her in. She's in the pickleball interest. And every time we have a pickleball event, we'll make sure you know about it. And then the reason you can then share that with anybody, whether they have shoelace or not, is because all you're saying is, hey, the pickleball tournament is in Central Park this Friday. If you're interested, come on over.
It feels much more to me like, okay, Google has had mixed results with social networking. This feels more like Nextdoor to me than it does Google Plus, because Nextdoor is definitely based on where you live. It's less about interest, in the offset, but you can kind of use it that way. I for example, I'm, my local Nextdoor is almost all people talking about animals, because that's just the kind of person that I am. The fact that we live around each other is secondary. So I can see where this would actually be really great, especially because it's Google, if you get enough people to sign up.
Google services like this, I find, are always best when they are trying to solve a problem and not achieve a goal. And I think Google Plus very clearly was, we need to achieve the goal of harvesting data when Facebook locks us out, right? And so they built the network to try and achieve that goal. But when they're solving problems like, hey, it is painful to delete emails, so we'll have Gmail where you never delete an email again, right? I think that they are often at their best. Maps is another great example, but this seems good. I mean, this seems like it is at least in the strong suit of Google, and I look forward to using it before they cancel it in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is that aspect of it, whether people trust something to stick around. But again, this is risk-free to try. Like, it's just going to point you to events around your interests. If you're like, I don't see why I would use this, it's because we haven't hit on the example of, you're like, oh, but I do want to know when the, Magic the Gathering tournaments are taking place. That would be cool. Or whatever your interest is. If you don't want to ever leave the house, no, Shoelace is not for you. To get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com.
And thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. Sometimes you talk about shoelaces, sometimes not. You can submit stories and vote on others that you care about at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook. Join our group if you haven't yet, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
Let's check out the mailbag.
We got a real good one from Kick. Kick said, when you were talking about the potential issues that players of the existing Lotro game might have with the new Amazon game, the real problem that I think was inferred, but not explicitly stated, is that of fracturing the player base. According to MMOpopulation.com, Lotro is the 26th largest game at 22,582 active players. Compared to the number 2 game, World of Warcraft, at 1.526 million players, Lotro is tiny. While, yes, some players might be upset that they're not getting the new content or the new location, the game can hardly sustain a loss of players. Assuming the previously mentioned numbers are accurate, the new Lotro game, maybe one content and better graphics, or whatever the case may be, may draw players away from the old game to the new one. A loss of even 5,000 players could be a major setback, as that's almost 25% of the player base. So, at what point is Lotro no longer profitable? We could have a situation like City of Heroes, where another popular, though niche, game dies because the publisher or developer is no longer making enough money to run it. Unlike City of Heroes, it's too early to know whether private servers may pop up to keep Lotro alive. A quick search indicates, though, that private servers don't exist yet, and depending on how things go, they may never.
Yeah, this is a really good point. If you're someone who's like, I have no interest in this new game, I just want to keep playing Lotro forever, and I'm worried that others don't feel the same way and will go to this new game, and the game I love might go away because of that. Get that. That's totally fair. That's also kind of the way the world works, though. Like, things become less popular and other things become more popular, and sometimes things we love go away because we're on the other side of that.
You should be like France and tax people for playing games that aren't your favorite.
Right.
Wait, is that actually an analogy, or are you just taking a dig at France?
Oh, I'm just kicking France.
Sacre bleu. Yeah. We also got an email from Jesse because we have been asking on Good Day Internet, the wider version of the show, available on twitch.tv/Good Day Internet or to the patrons as an RSS audio feed, about changes to our Patreon. Are there things you would like from our Patreon that would make you sign up or keep you happy or make you excited? Jesse suggested the following. I would love a video of your studio setups for patrons. That'd be a cool perk to give people little tours. And also for Good Day Internet, a mailbag segment on Good Day Internet, which would require us to actually plan a thing for Good Day Internet, but it's not a bad thing.
It would. And I actually, even though I'm like, that's more work on our part, but I think that's a great idea because we do get a lot of GDI mailbags. They're not necessarily right for DTNS, but they're a thread that all of you that listen or watch GDI regularly would get something out of. So good feedback. Keep it coming.
Yeah, keep the feedback coming. If you haven't heard us talk about it, if you only listen to DTNS, feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Send us your ideas about what you would like in the tiers, or if there's something in the tiers right now that you're like, please never take that away. That's the thing I love the most. Let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
You know who else has good feedback? Justin Robert Young. Besides great feedback on DTNS, where can folks keep up with the rest of your work?
Oh man, I want to thank everybody because I know we have a large crossover audience, and so many folks from DTNS have supported my political endeavors at takepoliticsseriously.com, which is my Patreon, where I do the newsletter and the podcasts and the YouTubes and the Instagram videos and everything. But I want to thank you guys because literally today we went over our previous high water mark for patrons, and that was, during the midterms, and there were a bunch of other, like I used to have other stuff on that Patreon that I'd since split out, but now we are in uncharted waters. So I want to thank everybody. If you've never given the Politics Show a shot, then go ahead and download it. Politics on the podcatcher of your choice.
Listen, folks, it's really easy to get your name read on the show. If you're new to us on Patreon, sign up, patreon.com/DTNS. Had to go back a couple days to be able to thank Michael L. Hale here. Why don't you join Michael L. Hale and get a lot of great membership benefits as well? Patreon.com/DTNS.
Our email address is feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Write us early and often. I'll be waiting. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Nicole Lee, and Len Peralta will be back to illustrate the show. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
The Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Great show. What should we call it?
Another banger.
Gooddayinternet.showbot.tv or dtns.showbot.tv if you are watching or listening live, and find out what we're going to call the show. You can actually submit your ideas during the show with the Bang S command. That's !S in IRC, Twitch, or Discord. And right now, with the most votes at Showbot is Amazon Prime's employees for new jobs.
I see what you did there, Bio Cow.
Mm-hmm. There's also the most French way of working. It's amazing what you can do with eyes.
Unless you get it wrong.
Social shoelace. Be like France.
I feel like being like France is almost always the right idea.
Do it like the French.
Sacre bleu, Justin.
It is amazing that they're like, okay, you don't want to put headquarters in our country because we tax too much. So you put them in other countries, and now that's ban evasion, and we're going to charge you money for it.
That is perfectly valid. That is a perfectly valid criticism of France.
Yes.
But I think there is also a real problem of like, hey, you're doing a lot of business in our country with our people because of a new technology, and we have to support those people, and you're not paying taxes in our country. I think there's a legitimate aspect to the
Yeah.
idea of like it's an old-fashioned idea to base taxation simply on where the people are.
And look, maybe we are going to get to a point where that is not the case. But I mean, you can always put a tax on the sale, right? You can put a tax on.
That's what this is.
What? No, this is a tax on top of whatever they make, right?
This is a 3% tax based on the sales of 25 million euros in France.
Yes, no. So the sales trigger the tax.
Correct.
It's not per transaction.
No, you ask a very pertinent question. What is the 3%? The 3% tax will be levied on sales generated in France.
Yes. So, but not. All right. Yeah. I guess it's kind of a quibbling thing of like whether or not it's at the point of purchase or like at the end.
It's not a point of sale tax.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not a sales tax like ring it up at the register because they're saying if you make less than 25 million euros, then you don't have to pay the sales tax.
You don't have to pay a year.
And then also the sales tax should be paid by the company. It's not VAT. We're not.
Yes.
Yeah. We're not value added.
No, yeah. It's money from the companies. And look, again, it's one of those things that is just, it's the French way of doing things. I know that's why I said it's very French. It's what they do.
So the most French way of working, be like France or Amazon Prime's employees for new jobs. Or Pickleball Social Network.
I just like pickleball. DT.
So I didn't want to say it during the show because it was going to derail us, but I don't know what pickleball is.
Oh,
what is it?
It's a hot trend. Pickleball.
Okay, what is it?
It's basically tennis with wooden paddles and a wiffle ball. Kind of.
Yeah, basically. I can remember it was at the TMS weekend.
Yeah,
it was out of the pool. There was like a pickleball pro.
There was like a championship pickleball round.
Does it always use a wiffle ball?
Yeah. The ball is more complicated than just a wiffle ball, Tom, said the pickleball aficionado in the audience. But yeah, pretty much. It's a pickleball, but the pickleball looks very much like a wiffle ball to me.
But it's not a wiffle ball?
No,
like, do I go to a sporting goods store and get a pickleball that's not a wiffle ball?
If you play pickleball with just a standard wiffle ball, why? That's street pickleball.
That was my question. All right, so this is not something I can cobble together. I have to really want to play pickleball.
According to the pickleball or USAPA, the Pickleball Association in the United States, it is a paddle sport created for all ages and skill levels. The rules are simple and the game is easy. The basics that was the basics. That was it.
Perforated polymer ball similar to a wiffle ball.
Okay.
So if you search on Amazon, you can find Onyx Pure, 2 outdoor pickleball balls specifically designed and optimized for pickleball.
Are they black? Onyx Pure sounds like
no. Although the price is of staggering $10.99 to $249.99.
What? What in the
I'm
heck
going to
is
go
going
with
on?
Amazon Prime's employees.
The biggest difference between a wiffle ball and a pickleball seems to be the price.
Done. Title picked.
No, I think that might be if you get the 100 pack.
Oh, okay.
And should I just like assume that pickle has nothing to do with a pickle that is marinated cucumber?
Are we naming the show?
Amazon Prime's employees for new jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now back to your very important question, Sarah.
Pickleballs. No, I think it's just a colloquial funny name. It's like
okay. I wasn't like, is there something pickly about it?
No.
I first encountered pickleball in 1987 at the early PE. That was PE that would start before the normal period started at Greenville High School, where Coach O'Boyle, our PE teacher, would find the things that would cause him the least amount of stress early in the morning to teach high school students. And one of them was pickleball. So we would, on the tennis court, get these wooden paddles and wiffle ball-like things and play a form of tennis.
What was the point of early PE?
Oh, it was so you could take a higher load of other classes, or in my case, have 2 lunch hours.
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, pickleball. I thought pickleball was just this weird thing that Coach O'Boyle had found, and then lo and behold, years later, I run into the official pickleball championships in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
On top of the Plaza Hotel. And not only that, but also like these graphite pickleball paddles that are, hundreds of dollars and
hundreds of dollars. That seems to go against the spirit of the game.
There is one thing, Sarah, that is real where when you win the pickleball championship, it's customary that you are then doused in a bath similar to Gatorade.
Stop it.
Of brine.
No.
It's called the brining.
Yeah, you get brined and then you're kept in a jar for the next year and a half.
And you probably stay pretty preserved.
Yeah,
that's the whole idea, right?
Better, yeah.
But you'll be a little
go to your jar, sir.
Now, all right,
little
Sarah,
pruny.
Food question, because I feel like we move in Tom, everybody, right? But what's the weirdest thing that you saw pickled at like one of these restaurants that always want to pickle everything?
What's the weirdest pickled item?
Yeah.
Not your own
weird ones, man.
organs.
People have gotten aggressive with pickling things.
Well, okay, I don't know. Help me out because maybe I'm forgetting.
It's hard for me to think because I don't
go to those places.
Well, no, I don't. I do.
I don't.
My nose up at things, so I tend to forget that they're weird.
Well, let me ask you.
I also like things that are in vinegar in general.
All right.
It's like pickled carrot, good.
Oh, delish.
Pickled pickled cucumber, great. Love it.
Everything in Korea is pickled.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, sure.
Like, what do you mean by
daikon? None of that is weird though. Like what?
Pig's feet, probably.
Yeah.
They had pickled eggs at the Texas Showdown, but pickled
Oh, that sounds good.
No, pickled fruit. Pickled fruit is the weirdest.
Yeah.
Why?
What kind of fruit?
Apple slice, a pickled banana.
I've had pickled grapes.
Pickled banana.
Yeah.
Let's just stop short of that.
Sarah, this is exactly my experience. I'm glad that we had this moment to bond.
Yeah. It's just like too far.
Pickled.
Exactly. It's like the Jeff Goldblum clip. You were so obsessed with whether or not you could, you never thought to think if you should.
That's right. I mean, pickled banana, granted, never had one, but I find it heresy, and I never want it to be spoken of again. Just in theory.
So I will take a moment to thank Let's Try This _tech, who just subscribed to Good Day Internet, twitch.tv/GoodDayInternet.
But you don't eat pickled bananas.
Yeah, I would eat.
And eat it if you do.
I know. I realize I'm risking my friendship with you right now, but I would definitely eat a pickled banana.
I think of the banana is one. So it's funny because you're like pickled fruit, or I'm like, is that weird? A banana is one of those things where it's hard to make it savory. It's really hard to make a banana savory. I know pickling isn't exactly that, but anything that's just not sweet.
But vegetables are sweet. They're not as sweet as fruit.
Carrots are pretty sweet.
Yeah. You cook them to make them savory. You salt them and put butter on
Although with
them.
Carrots, when you cook them, they actually get sweeter.
Carrots are particularly sweet for a vegetable, though. Like green peas also.
Pickled carrots, totally a thing.
Corn. Sweet corn.
Good. I don't like sweet corn.
What?
I would like my corn to be pickled.
This goes back to you not liking sweet pickles, and you can't separate that idea of sweet fruit
That might be
not
it.
tasting like sweet pickles, I bet. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just talking about sweet pickles is upsetting.
Yeah, sorry. I found out the origin of pickleball, why it's called pickleball.
All right. What is it?
It was invented at the home of former state representative Joel Pritchard on Bainbridge Island, Washington in 1965. Allegedly, the name comes from the family dog Pickles, or potentially from the term pickle boat. According to Joan Pritchard, Joel Pritchard's wife, the name came about because of the combination of different sports reminded me of the pickle boat in Crew, where oarsmen were chosen from the leftovers of other boats.
So it's not a boat. It's a pickle boat is just a bunch of kids who didn't get picked first.
It's just leftovers.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a boat staffed by leftovers.
But they also had a dog named Pickles. So I'm like, really?
That dog was left over at the kennel.
That's a good name. That's a good name. I don't care what kind of dog it was. Good name. Pickles.
Is it Mr. Pickles on BoJack Horseman?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Justin, maybe your next bird can be Pickles.
Oh no. There's another show called Mr. Pickles. All right. No, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever name a bird again because my wife started getting them from the rescue and
So they're already named.
We don't have the heart to rename.
Change. Yeah.
They've been through so much for us to just say like, no, your new name.
Now your name's Pickles.
Now your name's Pickles because we love pickles.
So why don't they do that for other animals? Like when you pick an animal, like this is the name they came in with.
Sometimes people do. It depends.
Yeah, sometimes people do it.
I mean, I renamed Otis. His name was Louis when I adopted him, and he just looked like an Otis to me.
When he's bad, do you go both names? Do you
No.
say, Louis Otis, you get in here right now.
He's not Louis. He hasn't been Louis since day one. I was just like, which is a super cute name. I just when I looked at him, I was like, that's not your name.
All my dogs have 3 names. There's been a kennel name from when they were picked up off the street, then a rescue organization name, and then the name we gave them.
Yeah. Well, okay, so if that's actually true. Before Otis was Louis, his name was Kelso.
Kelso.
Ooh,
That's a good one. I like Kelso.
Kelso grammar.
Was it a
Sergeant Kelso?
Is it a 70s show reference?
I
Otis
don't
Kelso.
I don't know, but he
know
was
he's
Kelso. When he was Kelso, I didn't know him. So I rarely bring
Yeah.
when he was Louis, I did meet him, and then he
Yeah.
became Otis. So technically, he's Kelso Louis Otis.
Django was Champelli.
Champelli? What is that?
Champelli. Yeah.
Like,
not
is
even
that like
Chantilly.
champagne?
No idea. The rescue organization called her Kelly, and then we called her Django.
She looks like a Django to me.
Oh, yeah. Kelly kind of was fine, but Champelli, I'm like, you are not a Champelli. Sawyer was Ja Rule.
Stop it. Stop it.
How did you bury that lead?
And then
Jeez.
the rescue people named him JR. Not terribly imaginative. And then he became Sawyer.
I mean,
So-
how is a dog
did you
named
not
Ja Rule?
The name Ja Rule. If somebody handed me a dog named Ja Rule, I would.
You
Well, 'cause
have
he was-
to, out of
Well,
respect.
first
you
of
just-
all,
that has to be
Eileen
named.
always has the name of the dog in mind before we get the dog. So the dog's already named. But yeah.
If somebody said, here's the dog Ja Rule, I would just say, what could I be without you? And
But he was JR when we found him. And then when we get the paperwork, we're like, wait, he was
I
called
want
Ja
a
Rule.
dog just so I can name him Ja Rule.
I don't know. After Firefest, I'm not sure that you want a dog named Ja Rule.
And then
Things got a little complicated.
I would totally watch to make sure he wasn't hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Right. Those
Ray-
sandwiches are piss poor.
Yeah.
Ray was Libby when we adopted her. But before
Aw,
that,
that's
she had been Libby von Lipstadt
What?
because
Huh.
she's a German Shepherd.
Ah, yes. Yes. So you could have done like an LVL or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like too much of an inside joke for you to, unless you just really liked that.
Yeah. I called her Libby Ray for a little bit when we first got her.
I think Libby that's a cute name.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only known her as Ray, so I'm like, she doesn't look like a Libby.
But we do still call Sawyer Ja Rule if he gets like really crazy. We're like, the Ja Rule.
said.
Ja Rule. We've got some really great Ja Rule impressions here on the show.
It's
don't we?
uncanny. It's like he's right here with us.
I know, yeah. He was, man, Ja Rule, what a bizarre second act that man has been on, because like he had the business analyst career kind of out of nowhere. Then he was like the meme of like Ja Rule's performing at an Olive Garden in Arizona or something.
Yeah.
And then it was the Firefest. Like for whatever reason, man, that dude has kept his name out there in like the worst ways.
Yeah.
He's like a symbol of decline.
And yet there's some Ja Rule songs. If I put on right now, I'd be like, love this song.
Mhm.
Bangers.
Yeah.
Bangers from Ja.
Bangers from Ja.
I mean, was it him? There's the Jay-Z one that was on the Like the Can I Get a?
I
get a.
Ja Rule's on that.
I think so. Yeah.
Really? I mean, he had the J-Lo song. That was a big song.
That was, yeah.
Cause I'm real. Yeah.
Well, yeah. we all have great. Well, I will say that Sawyer is always on time. So.
Oh yeah, Ashanti and Ja Rule.
Yep.
Wonderful duo. You know,
Yeah.
they did a few things together.
It was Emil. That's who I was thinking. It was the female rapper. I couldn't remember. But Jay-Z featuring Emil and Ja Rule. Can I Get a for the Rush Hour soundtrack? And it was on Volume 2, Hard Knock Life.
You know what? You're right. I had completely forgotten.
Can I get it in the morning?
Out any dough. There you won't be. I mean, I know. I'm channeling him in such a way that you don't even know who's who.
Well, the good thing is we won't get a takedown notice. So
he was great, man. I would actually watch here's a YouTube series that if it doesn't exist, it oughta. Just going back and tracing all the little minutia of like hip hop beefs from the 90s. Like all the little like
who was he mad at?
Sports, like all the best snippets from the diss tracks. Like one of my favorite things that I used to download back in the freewheeling, Napster LimeWire days were just like the compilations of all the diss tracks that were on these like random mixtapes.
Because Ja Rule and 50 Cent had a whole thing going.
I mean, it launched 50's career.
Yeah. By the way, this is a super easy Wikipedia search, but Ja Rule's real name is Jeffrey Atkins.
Oh, I thought you were going to say his real name's Sawyer. That would have been amazing.
It would have been amazing. Jeffrey Bruce Atkins, unfortunately, not Sawyer. But that would have been great. It's funny when you put in Ja Rule 90s beef. it's like people also ask on Google, like, what is Ja Rule worth? What happened to Ja Rule's career? Is Ja Rule married? Who shot 50?
Yeah. Right in there. Huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess there are some people who have done YouTube videos tracking that beef specifically.
It is a long running one. I don't know what the deal is now.
It's still, well, if I remember correctly, it began because they're both from Queens, and it was a local thing that 50. I can't remember if it was before or after he got shot. He stole Ja Rule's chain.
Got shot 9 times. Back to Chris Rock. Okay, let's see.
That was the thing. He stole his chain.
Let's look at personal life. Atkins earned his GED while in prison in February of 2012. Okay, that's good. In April 2001, Ja Rule got married. 3 kids. No sign of 50 yet. Raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah. Now identifies as a Christian man. Interesting. Okay. Lots of stuff I didn't know about Ja. There's a lot of legal issues. We'll just gloss over this area. Feuds. Before signing with Interscope Records, rapper 50 Cent engaged in a well-publicized feud with Ja Rule and his label Murder Inc. Records. 50 claimed that the feud began in 1999 after Ja Rule spotted him with a man who robbed him of his jewelry, and also because of Ja Rule trying to beat Tupac. That's in quotes. Okay. So, yeah, 2 guys from Queens who didn't get along. Pretty much.
Although apparently, in searching for this, at some point fairly recently, 50 Cent bought all 200 tickets to a Ja Rule concert so the crowd would be empty.
I mean,
you told me that story before.
That is petty as petty gets. I love it.
God.
No, I would never tell anybody to watch the show because it's not a good show.
Yeah.
But the show Power, which 50 Cent was an executive producer of and also starred in, I mean, he's great in that show.
Is he?
I don't know if anybody has seen the show.
No,
but
it has an audience.
It does,
very
and
big
it
audience,
has an audience for being a bad show. It's a bad show, but he's a villain. Like, he's mean, and he's really good. Like, he's the best part of the show by far. I think his character was killed off eventually, but yeah. If anybody ever wants to see 50 in his element, you watch Power, and apologize in advance for the show itself.
He's such a soft-spoken guy.
Wait, who?
50
Ja
Cent?
Rule or
50. 50.
Because I don't think either are true.
Well, I shot an interview with him, and he was really 50 Cent, right?
Yeah.
I shot an interview with him, and he was really like, he was not I mean, part of it is maybe just the crowd that was with him, and it was funny because his entourage was a little louder, boisterous, but he was I
wouldn't call him a yeller, really. I mean, he seems kind of
very smart guy. Always been very smart.
Yeah.
He bought into vitamin water fairly early, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
I want to acknowledge that BioCow in our Discord noted from Pickleball Press the differences between pickleball and wiffle ball. Would you like to hear them?
The spelling?
The holes in a pickleball are round. Generally, the holes in a wiffle ball are oblong.
Mm-hmm.
The weight of a pickleball is 0.8 to 1.02 ounces, whereas the weight of a wiffle ball is 0.7 ounces. The size of a pickleball is 3 inches diameter. The size of a wiffle ball is 2.94 inches diameter. Both are made of plastic. However, a wiffle ball is white, while pickleball colors may be various.
Okay, here's perhaps a really obvious question. Why make a wiffle ball? Why don't we just have pickleballs?
Well, I think the wiffle ball people might say, why make a pickleball?
But there's not a game called wiffle ball.
Yeah, there
is.
Yeah, there is.
I just thought it was a ball.
You never
wiffle
played
balls predate pickleball.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It was a safer way to play a ball game without clubbing people in the head.
You don't want your young kids to hurt themselves playing with a full baseball, so you gave them a wiffle ball.
Well, sure, of course. That's how I know wiffle balls.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that a pickleball existed. I just feel like they're so similar. Maybe we should just choose one.
I think what happened was pickleball used wiffle balls and then decided to differentiate because they wanted to have their own gear.
Well, I'm sure like the changes they made it easier to smack around with a paddle.
Maybe they don't seem that different though, right?
Well, not from appearance, but perhaps in.
Well, no, I just gave the specs: 3 inches versus 2.94 inches.
But that doesn't.
I also want to know when you
that's
hit
what
it
I
with
just
a bat,
said.
like
Pickleball's a little heavier. The 1.02 ounces versus 0.7.
Perhaps that. What I'm saying is, perhaps it translates when you're actually playing the game. There's a motion or feel to the ball that's different.
I doubt
the oblong nature of the holes, perhaps.
I mean,
yeah, because the wiffle ball oblong holes make it do weird, funny stuff, which is fun when you're playing, and you're like, oh, I could throw a curve without hurting my arm. Pickleball, you don't want that. You want it to.
This is sort of how in my old neighborhood, there are some paddle tennis courts close to me. Well frequented, very popular. And a friend of mine who plays tennis is like super into paddle tennis now. And I'm like, well, what's the difference? And he's like, I mean, obviously you have a different racket and the whole thing is smaller and it's a whole different game. And I'm like, but why don't we just pick one? I don't know. I guess variety is fun for people.
Why does one need to be banned? I don't know why you have a hostility to two.
No, because I'm like, there's more equipment to have. Oh, I have to remember if I'm doing regular tennis or paddle tennis, but they're really similar games. I just don't know where it came from. Where'd it come from? I'm not angry at it.
From the dog Pickles. He invented
from Pickles from 1962.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. You all play the game you want to play.
Play your games.
Sarah's going to take her pickleball and go home.
And then destroy it.
Have some pickled carrots is what I'm gonna do. That sounds really good. Get some pickles at Lazzini's Market on the way out of town tonight.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us today, and keep those feedback emails coming. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Please tip your waitress and try the veal, and have a good day.
Have a good
day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.